This is something that has come up, and I I think this might be a thing also. Just we mentioned with the team environment, where you might seem to be a team, and it might seem to be more particular to a certain field due
Yeah.
to familiarity with that. But it seems that there is a a sort of a seam. I'm saying seam a lot here to be sure that I'm not trying to typecast a group of people, but there is a level of maybe drug use or things like that
Oh
in
yeah,
certain
yeah, yeah.
groups in certain fields. Is that more of a New York thing, or is it like an industry thing? What would you say on this without naming names or like trying to like put anyone out there?
Well, no, no, it's definitely an industry thing because I was looking at a chart, drug use by industry, and I think fashion was number one, and I think finance was number two. This was a few years ago; it might be changed now. And then construction was up there too, and then food service was like four or five. So you think about it, like, I mean, pretty much everybody drinks, everyone smokes weed, but then you got a lot of people doing cocaine to try and get through the day. Like some people do heroin, which I kind of don't get because it's like, how do you do the physically demanding work if you're like doped up? You know, cocaine I get because it's a high physically demanding thing, but heroin it's just like I don't know, it's like you're just like in a daze. I mean, I've never done heroin, but you know, my understanding. So and then people would just experiment you know, after work, like Molly, and you know, some people did other stuff too. I mean, you know, I drank a bit, I still do, but it's like I didn't delve into that other stuff. I think it's a combination to answer your question of just like the stress, the hours. I just think it's like that kind of lifestyle of like, you know, you're up late, you're out partying with friends. Like I just think like a certain type of person gravitates towards that and like they get into that lifestyle.
It could also be an aspect of maybe with a heroin, maybe it's a painkiller, maybe they have an injury
Yeah.
and that's helping them, like because heroin's opium's used,
Yeah.
opium's used
Opiates in
opiates are
general, I would
used
say. Yeah.
as painkillers, yeah.
Yeah.
And they could also be a thing here, as we mentioned, this is something that is evolutionary, this food thing. But I'm wondering, could there be also some mental effect that could be studied of our bodies itself are primed that when food is presented, something goes in our mind like, okay, get that food, get that food, get that food. But then when you're involved in the food industry, whatever chemical process is that's evolved in us. If you had a system, a person, and this is why you see with certain people who have certain, I think, issues. I'm a recovering obese person, recovering from obesity. It's an ongoing thing, where there's something wrong with your signals of stress comes in and depression, then you overeat. You're eating more than your body needs. But there is a system in there. Some people will actually have some mental imbalances where it's just they have to eat. Some other animals, like certain fish, if you just put food ahead in front of them, they'll just keep eating until they die. We understand the certain urges and certain things into us. It goes into reproduction, goes into food, goes into cleanliness. There's other things that are biological. So there is a biological aspect in there that you see food, trigger a need to eat, consume food, get that sated, go back to doing other things. Now, if you're involved in the food industry and you're constantly getting that trigger without the satiation of the food and then going back to doing other things, there could be some level of, I don't know if it's stress, but I think this could be some level of overly activating that natural sense of thing that we have in us. And you see a similar thing, like if somebody's in the sex industry, they're probably going to have a certain different relationship to intercourse, even though that titillation, that seeing something sexual is supposed to get a natural drive out of us to to do something sexual and then go back to living our regular life. There could be some aspect in that as well with like the food industry. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, they've talked about that addictive personalities. There's also the other belief is about like trauma and like people just get so broken down working in the industry, chefs screaming at them and everything, and they just like that's how they cope with it. That's one thing. As you're sort of getting at, two people just wear themselves out working all the time, so it's like they turn to drugs and alcohol to sort of like get through the day. I mean, that's sort of what comes to mind. Like I say, part of it's recreational, just like, oh, it's fun to hang out, do coke in the back after work. You know, at we used to drink after work all the time. It was pretty bad, actually. I remember like this one girl used to drink whiskey, and I remember like she would be like stumbling out of the door each time.
Don't
Oh, it was
snitch
bad.
on people, man. I might put a beep on the name and get that out there. Because this current year, man, this is the internet. So people can track these people down.
Well, what I was gonna say is other places I worked, they were stricter on that. Like Felidia, my last job, like what the rule was that when you punched out, you had to leave right away. Like you couldn't even just hang out and talk because the thing is there were legal liabilities if like like apparently what happened was people would come in and they would work and then they would either wait to punch out or they'd hang out and they would say I was working and they didn't pay me. Or there were other issues too. Like if you were to get hurt or something would happen, you could be like, oh, I got hurt on the place and I wasn't working, they're responsible. But that's the whole point. It's like, and I used to yell at certain staff members where I'd be like, guys, you're done, just get out and leave. Like you want to go hang out at the bar across the street, but like you can't just hang out and talk for, an hour, because then the owners get mad at me and the other manager, because it's like, you're not supposed to be hanging out here. Like it's like what I'm getting at, I guess, is that the industry in certain places used to be more lax. Like you could hang out and drink after work. That was normal. But, in current year, as we say, that's less acceptable, plus different lawsuits and liabilities. So it's like, it's better you just get out of work and just go somewhere else. And then it's like, go be a drunken idiot somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. This has been a clip from an actual longer recording that I'll try to leave a link to on the screen or somewhere around here where you're listening to this.
Presents. 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 Presents.
Peasants.
Okay. Okay.